you just tell people that story over and over. But most kids aren't like that. Most adults, most 30, 40-year-olds aren't. So tell me a little bit about what you're dealing with older people, because you've mentioned now that you're, trying to get post-collegiate and others. Um, do you deal with anybody that is, midlife, where they're looking to change careers, not just switch from being
Yeah.
an athlete to the workplace?
I do. And so normally the process usually is around a couple things. The first thing I usually always do when I'm working with someone that's at that level is we do their emotional intelligence in the workplace assessment. And I'm really big on doing the assessments because I can learn so much from talking to people. And I can go to a mechanic and tell him what's wrong with my car. But until he looks under the hood, he's not going to 100% know. And so that's why I really like utilizing the emotional intelligence assessments, because it kind of gives me that extra tool to look in. And so a lot of the times what I see in mid-level changing. I want a new job. I want to do this. I can look at their assessment and say, yeah, your self-actualization is really low, but your self-awareness is high because you're realizing about yourself. So let's talk about that. We can kind of form conversations around that. So the emotional intelligence in the workplace report is something that I do a lot of at that level, and a lot of one-on-one coaching. Whether it's an hour coaching, whether it's more than an hour coaching, doesn't really matter. I do some one-on-one martial arts training as well for people that are using that as a stress release tool, and we talk about how that can help them, from a corporate wellness standpoint. I've talked to a lot of HR managers about utilizing that in their corporate arenas. And then the big one right now that I've been working with is the Reiki energy and the healing. Reiki energy, it's a Japanese art of stress relaxation, it just truly promotes amazing healing. And so what I have the ability to do, which is really cool, and anybody does, just if you're willing to go down this path, I can channel this beautiful, loving, and compassionate and healing energy. And I have pages and pages and pages of people that have come to me, and I've been able to, essentially what I do is it's usually a 30 or 60-minute session, and just channeling this energy. They're relaxed, they just lay there. It's not a massage. All I do is I put my hands on them, and there's certain hand positions that I'll do, and they just come out of there with some completely relaxed, and there's a lot of emotional healing that happens with this, and a lot of physical healing as well, which is why I use it in my new athletic development model for my athletes, because I've been able to, heal people. People get their knee messed up, and I'm able to go in for a half hour and put this good energy in that position. Because what happens is when we get injured, and I'm going to break this into two things: when we get injured emotionally and when we get injured physically, what happens is there's negative energy forms in that area. And so from the physical side, what I can come in and do is I essentially, the energy comes in and it vibrates right there, and it releases the negative energy, and it's replaced with the good energy, and allows the body to do what it's meant to do, which is heal. So it's not a replacement for any medicine or going to a doctor or anything like that. It's just another asset. And emotionally is the one that's been really interesting lately, because I've had a lot of people have some really intense emotional reactions to this, crying, like, oh my God, I've been hanging on to that for so long. Because what happens is emotional scars, we use that term, actually happen. We have this, people talk about the energy around us, our chi, our life force, or some people talk about the aura. When bad things happen, it literally cuts a scar into that energy, and that's why either it won't heal or more bad things are going to continue to happen. So by being able to kind of seal that up, replace it with the good energy, has been something that's been truly incredible. And I've a lot of adults like that, because one, they need the stress release, two, they physically are just kind of beat up from whether they've been doing sports their whole lives, or they haven't been doing sports and haven't been active and are now having pain in other areas of their body, the back, the knees, or they just got injured. I worked with a kid who's a top prospect, he's actually younger than what I usually work with, but I know his dad and we're friends, and so I told him I'd work with him. But he messed up his knee, and I went in and I was able to work in a half hour, and he called me the next day and he's like, I don't know what you did, but his knee's fine. That's a really good feeling, and something that I'm going to be focusing on a lot more in the future, and possibly creating some new and fun leadership models around it, maybe an energy leadership model.
That's excellent. Excellent. We got about 10 minutes left here, so I did want to also ask you about Safe Academy.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Safe Academy stemmed from my work that I was already doing at the collegiate level. Once you're working at the college level and you're living in there and you're seeing and you're working with student athletes, you tend to find, because I'm always trying to be better, right? I'm always trying to find something that I haven't figured out yet that are going to help these kids. And what I really realized is, when I was working with the kids doing the career development stuff, I realized how much, and they realized it too, how much we were doing on the back end because of how much they missed on the front end. And so we were really working against the waves, and we had to work so hard to get these kids up to speed to be an entry-level professional. And so with the guidance of one of my friends back on the East Coast who kind of lives in this space, we have different processes, but he really pushed me to do this. I reverse engineered essentially, from having your first entry-level job to the choice of making the choice of college and making the choice of your major. And so what we do is I'll start with the kids when they're transitioning from their senior year. Usually it's like right at their senior year that I start with them. I've worked with some at the junior level, but it's usually their senior year of high school, and I'll put them through the first phase, which I call internal honest dialogue. So I give them their emotional intelligence and higher education assessment. I give them their personality assessment, and then I give them their foresights assessment. And the foresights assessment is their thinking profile. So they learn how they think, and they learn how they go through the process of problem solving and creativity, and can understand that. And then from there, we write our first personal mission statement. That's kind of phase one. And then phase two is an intensive decision-making process. Using this information we know about ourselves, not what other people tell us. We cut all that white noise out. And I always say this, sorry, mom and dad, but you might have the best intention for your kid, but only your kid knows your kid. And so, we essentially try and block out some of the white noise. We help them understand how to take in information, from your role models, from your teacher, from your counselor, from your mom, from me, but essentially in the end make their own decision. And we help them choose the right college and the right major based on who they are. And then once they make that decision, we then do semester coaching sessions. So it's one official coaching session every year, and then there's additional ones we can do if there's more needed to be done. But essentially we then stroll right through the years with them. We do time management, we do building your network on campus, navigating internships and picking the right internship, and then we get to senior year where the career development stuff kicks in. And then once they're at their senior year, they go over to Athletes Equal Business, and hopefully they can find a job.
Excellent. I mean, that's what people need. I was so fortunate to have people that asked enough questions about me, and I also didn't have parents that had laid out any preconceived notions on what to do, so I wasn't fighting anything, like you said. So I think that's a really, really important role, because we all run into friends and coworkers that you wonder if what they're doing now, whether it's 10, 20, 30 years into their career, is that what they really wanted to do?
Right.
Or even just a minor tweak would have just kind of changed their satisfaction. And it's too long and too short of a life, I guess, however you want to put it, to be working at things you don't really like.
Right. And so that's what we talk about is, I think a lot of people, when I say a lot of people, I think a lot of students choose their majors based on inappropriate influences, right? Like social media and TV shows, and my friend's going to be a cop, so maybe I should be a cop. So by looking at, okay, are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? So how do you get your energy? If you get your energy from people, and you go to school, for something where you're just going to be secluded the whole time and you're not going to be talking to someone and you're just going to be in a cubicle, you're probably not going to enjoy your work life. If you're, how you gather information, how you communicate to the, quote unquote external world by looking at those parts of your personality and putting it with your emotional intelligence, and then, adding in the thinking profile, they can take a look and say, this is where I'm going to operate and enjoy myself the most. And it all comes back to joy. I focus on joy. Find where you will have the most joy. Don't get focused on an industry as an umbrella whole. Look at what the actual job is, and talk to people who have been there. That's part of their thing. They have to reach out to people that are in their first year in this profession, in their third year, and in their fifth year. If you can find all three, that's phenomenal, and I help with that process as well. But tell me everything about it. I want to know what it's like from the moment you get there, from the moment you leave, and just to have that type of conscious awareness early on, I think will help kids make the right decision. And that's something that we now in the education, we tell them to do that when they're juniors in college and start getting internships. It's too late. You got to do it earlier.
Absolutely. And that's where, again, they can change. It's a guest early on in the show last year always talked about having a trajectory. You don't need to have a destination, in where you're going, but a trajectory, and you can move. Yeah. But like you say, if we started early, they're moving in a direction and they've got options. But if you pick late, then it seems like we almost compound it to where they still need options, but they're narrowing. And
right.
It's adding, it's possible. Some people really know what they want, and it can be part skill, part luck, and wow, this is what I said I wanted, and I was right, and I'm enjoying it. But a lot of people, and when I say a lot, we'll just say more than half, in my opinion, they may be good at what they do, and they'll have good employers, and they'll like their coworkers, but there's probably some tweak to it, the way, maybe not the industry, but the capacity, or again, they like the general role with the company, but it's the wrong industry. That is so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Scott, as we're wrapping up here, how about giving people your contact information? It's on the posting for the show here. People come back to the replay, but let people know how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so you can email me directly at scott@positivesportsleadership.com. If you go on the website, you can also contact me through that, just www.positivesportsleadership.com. You can call me if you want. The cell phone doesn't leave my side. I answer all calls, and I call everybody back. So it's 716-480-1626. No shame. Just call me. Doesn't matter. I'll pick up.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, because as soon as I, just kind of saw what you were into, checked a few posts, went to the website, reached out to you immediately, Scott was saying, "Yeah, let's do this. Whatever you want. This sounds great." And I'm glad we did, because like I said, we got into a lot of stuff here, and again, this will be maybe the only show that shows how karate can be useful in the workplace, because I really did love that part about the culture, the family. There is something there special about that, and I love the way you're able to translate it to, people in the cubes talking to the people in the offices, talking to the people down the hall, for real culture, not the kind that comes in an HR memo,
Yep. Absolutely. And I should probably mention that if anyone's interested in the sports leadership guide, that they can just get it on Amazon by just putting either my name in, Scott Cvetkovski, or they can put sports leadership guide in the search engine, and it'll come up on Amazon. And it's in Barnes & Noble right now, I believe, too. I think I just got that email the other day.
Excellent. Well, Scott, again, thank you for being on tonight. It was a fantastic show.
Dave, it was my pleasure. This was great.
All right. Take care. Good night,
all right,
everybody.
bye-bye.
started out